Now, after being exiled to Belarus post their failed mutiny attempt in Russia, Wagner chief Yevgeny Prigozhin was seen in a video welcoming his fighters to Belarus. But that's not what has everyone talking. As per the Belarusian Defense Ministry, the Wagner group has started to train Belarusian special forces at a military range just a few miles from the border with NATO member Poland. Wagner chief says that they would rather gather their strength for Africa. What does one make of this move to train Belarusian special forces? We'll try and understand this. Now, to begin with, Wagner mercenaries started to train the Belarusian special forces at a military range near the Polish border, as I mentioned. This military range, it's about 3 to 5 kilometers east of the border between the two countries. According to visuals, masked Wagner instructors seem to be training the Belarusian forces on tactics, armored vehicles, as well as remote-controlled drones. Now, the NATO nation of Poland had moved over 1,000 troops to the east of the country near the border. The Polish defense minister has said that the country's borders were secure and that it was ready for various scenarios as the situation develops. However, Russia's Kremlin seems to be concerned here about Poland moving its troops. Kremlin spokesperson Peskov said, I'm quoting here, aggressiveness of Poland is a reality. He further says that it raises concerns. The aggressive and hostile attitude of Poland towards both Belarus and Russia is a cause for increased attention. Now, just to put this in geographical context, according to Minsk, Wagner troops are training Belarusian special forces here, some 5 kilometers away from the border. The region shares a border with Poland. As per reports, Polish citizens living in the village, which is located across the Bug River, could hear shooting in helicopters from across the border. Now, Wagner's chief mercenary, Prigozhin, has said that they would take no further part in the Ukraine war. He said what is going on at the forefront is a disgrace, that Wagner troops need not get involved in this. After arriving in Belarus, Prigozhin told his troops to get ready, gather their strength for a new journey to Africa. Wagner operates in the Central African Republic and Mali. Dozens of troops from Russia's Wagner private military company have arrived in Central African Republic. Wagner mercenaries have operated in the country since 2018. The Wagner troops are in the Central African Republic to help secure a constitutional referendum by the 30th of July. Now, the president, who was first elected in 2016 of the Central African Republic and won re-election in 2020, turned to Russia for help to tackle the rebel groups here. So that is the situation on ground currently. For more on this, we're now being joined by Sergei Somoleny, who is a defense expert and the director of European Resilience Initiative Center. So thank you so much for joining us on the show.
Thank you for having invited me today.
So my first question to you, as I mentioned, after being exiled, Wagner forces were seen training Belarusian special forces. How do you assess this? What do you make of this move?
Well, I think there is like a lot of show in these messages. What we know is that they have presented a video where they have allegedly trained Belarusian armed forces, and there are statements that they train them, but we do not know what is really happening on the ground and how extensive are these trainings. A similar situation happened to the alleged transfer of Russian tactical nukes to Belarus. There was also a lot of talk from Alexander Lukashenko, the dictator of Belarus, and Vladimir Putin, the Russian dictator. But we know that the nukes were not transferred as soon as it was announced, and even after that, the nukes will not be under Belarusian control, in contrary to what Lukashenko stated. So now when we are being served by the Russian sources with all these videos and the statements, we need to take them with a bit of skepticism, because we do not know how extensive it is. But of course, it is a demonstration of strength. It is a demonstration of decisiveness. And effectively, they want us to fear, like us, the collective West, and they want Poles to be nervous. They want NATO to be nervous. They want to create another tension point to distract the West from the situation on the front line in southern and east Ukraine.
Right. In fact, sir, I was just going to come to this. Poland, of course, as we know, is a NATO member. Is the Wagner movement along the border that Belarus shares with Poland a cause of concern and for the wider alliance? What could be the implications
Well,
of this?
we know that Russia and Belarus tried many times to undermine Poland's security with unconventional means, with hybrid means. We know that 2 years ago they have shipped by airplanes migrants from Syria and from Iraq to Minsk, and then forced these people. They lied to these people that they are going to Europe. Then they brought them to Minsk and pushed them by police to the border and told them, "Look, you will never come back to Minsk, but here is the border. You are free tomorrow." So they actually provoked tensions, and they sent these people who were totally like manipulated. They didn't know where they come. They didn't know what will be the consequence of that. They pushed them into Poland to create a crisis. So now I see it as a similar way to like undermine Polish security. Of course, there can be attempts like to go to Poland, and don't forget that the Wagner mercenaries, they are officially not members of the Russian military forces. That was that legal trick that Putin has created. There is like no legal entity within the Russian army as Wagner Group, and these mercenaries are not soldiers officially. So he can always say, look, I don't know. They are runaway fugitives. They are runaway inmates from the prisons. I don't know who they are. I don't pay them. I don't know why they decided to cross to Poland. Ask them. So yes, there can be like some tensions, but I don't think that the danger for Poland is significant here. Polish army is in a very good condition. They have also very high morale, and they can stop any such sort of low-level infiltration.
Right, sir. Now, that being said, we know that the Wagner Group has, for now at least, withdrawn from the war in Ukraine. They said that they would rather gather force for Africa. So how can we see the situation panning out on that front?
Well, I still think that the Wagner Group, they don't know yet what to do with them. So on one hand, it is not good for the Russians to lose within like 1 week 20,000 of troops. Wagner was about like 20,000 troop strength. It is not good to pull them all back from the front. So there were attempts to integrate at least parts of the Wagner mercenaries into the army and leave them on the front line. But we know that at least 10,000 of Wagner troops have been indeed moved to Belarus. We know it from the satellite pictures, the size of the tents, the number of trucks which arrived to this camp, etc. And now the question is, you're absolutely right, what will happen to all these people? To use them from Belarus to attack Ukraine is not a good idea. They will not manage to do it. 1 year ago, the Russian army didn't manage it. 10,000 or 15,000 mercenary group will not manage it too. So one idea is to use them to control Lukashenko, and I think that is the best explanation of what they're doing now. They're trying to control Lukashenko, to control his army. That's why also these alleged drills. They want to have bonds to Lukashenko's army. They want to control the situation for the case when Lukashenko will stop to be an ally of Putin, like to overtake his army. And other things like they can be also shipped to Africa, of course. And Africa was also always in the focus of Prigozhin's personal business interests. But this is not what would be helpful for Vladimir Putin, I think.
All right. Well, sir, thank you so much for joining us on the show with your insights on this.
Thank you so much.
WION is now available in your country. Download the app now. Get all the news on the move.